Hiroshima stops existing at 8:15 a.m., but 500 miles away in Tokyo, no one knows yet. At first, the telephone lines fall silent, then the radio stations, then the military circuits. One by one, every connection to the city simply disappears. In the underground headquarters, confused operators keep dialing numbers that never ring. The duty officer finally raises his head from the receiver, his face drained of color. Hiroshima isn't answering. Not delayed, not disrupted. Gone. Soon, generals gather around a long table covered with reconnaissance maps. They've tracked thousands of Allied bombing missions across 4 years of war, but nothing in their experience fits the scattered fragments arriving from the West. A single plane, a blinding white flash, and then absolute silence. One officer argues it must be a communications failure. Another insists it's Allied propaganda meant to cause panic. But a physicist seated quietly in the corner is already thinking of something no one wants to say aloud, something that could mean the end of Japan itself. Still, the military wants proof. An early field report from railway signalmen 30 miles outside Hiroshima arrives next. The handwriting is frantic. They describe a shockwave strong enough to knock them to the floor, telephone poles bending and snapping, windows shattering, and above the burning city, a massive column of smoke rising into the sky, widening at the top into the unmistakable shape of a mushroom. The generals exchange uneasy looks. Cities don't collapse in perfectly circular patterns. Smoke clouds don't rise like that after normal bombing. But disbelief is stronger than fear. Colonel Arakawa insists that the Americans are using psychological tactics, that the destruction is exaggerated to push Japan toward surrender. To settle the argument, a reconnaissance aircraft is ordered to fly to Hiroshima immediately. Major Sanumi Kotaro boards the mission, believing he'll return with proof that the city is damaged, not destroyed. But when the plane approaches Hiroshima, the pilot grows silent. The smoke is too thick to land. The airfield is covered in debris. The radio crackles again. The aircraft has descended for a low pass. What the major sees steals the breath from his lungs. Below them, Hiroshima isn't a city anymore. The streets and rivers form faint outlines, like a map printed on scorched earth. Everything else, buildings, factories, homes, has been crushed into the ground as if by an enormous invisible weight. Fires still rage. Survivors stagger aimlessly. Skin hangs from their arms. Clothing is burned into their flesh in the exact shape of seams and patterns. Some wander blindly toward the water. The rivers are full of bodies. The major fills pages with notes, but the writing grows more frantic the longer they circle. When he returns to Tokyo, he steps into the war room with a face that says more than words ever could. He opens his notebook and reads a single sentence. It looks as if a gigantic hand pressed the city into the earth. No one speaks. Even General Anami, the man steadfastly committed to fighting to the last breath, says nothing. Then Yoshio Nishina, Japan's leading nuclear physicist, arrives. He has spent the day analyzing every report, every eyewitness description, every photograph. After reviewing the mushroom cloud sketches, the flash burns, the circular destruction, he knows what the generals do not want to hear. When he finally speaks, his voice is almost apologetic. The effects match an atomic explosion. I believe the enemy has succeeded in using such a weapon. The room erupts. Disbelief, panic, anger. General Anami calls it speculation. He demands proof. So Nishina explains the physics of fission in the simplest terms he can. Uranium atoms splitting, triggering a chain reaction in a fraction of a second, releasing energy equivalent to tens of thousands of tons of TNT. One bomber, one bomb, one city, gone. The mushroom cloud is not incidental. It is the signature of a nuclear blast. No strategy they've ever written applies to this. No army can defend against a weapon that can wipe out an entire city before the warning sirens even finish sounding. Foreign Minister Togo breaks the silence with the sentence no one wants to hear. Continuing the war now is national suicide. Every day Japan continues fighting is another day for America to build more bombs. Another day that one more Japanese city, Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Nagoya, could vanish like Hiroshima. General Anami slams his fist on the table and declares that the nation must fight on. Togo responds quietly, without emotion. Then Japan will disappear, not in battle, but city by city, until nothing remains. The two men stare at each other across the table, and in the heavy silence that follows, everyone in the room understands the truth.